Hey friends, welcome back. Today we're going to play with some embossing glaze. Embossing glaze is an embossing powder that is colored and translucent. I'm going to show you a couple things, but let's just kind of get started here. I'm going to bring in a tag and a stencil. I love dots and circles, and this tag is one that I created using Distress paints. I think I have a video working with them. I lately just love to smash paint or ink or both onto tags, just because tag size is an easy size. These are number 8s, also have the number 10s, which are the bigger ones, but anyway, I just look at the colors that I like. I watch as the colors layer. I dry it, I add some more, and, you know, just play. But for this, we're going to start with some texture paste. This is Distress Crackle Paste, and it is translucent. So this works for crackle. It works for regular paste as well, but the result will be a little different. I'm going to show you both because I've prepped some already. My texture paste is coming to the end of its natural life. So I'm going to mix it up just a little bit. The reason that I was even working on this particular technique's the word I was looking for, is that I knew I had a bunch of pastes that I wanted to use up, and I just remembered I hadn't done this particular technique in a while, and a couple of the jars that I had, one was Crackle Opaque and the other was a grit paste. They were all dried out, so use your stuff. So anyway, I did this backwards, but I am just going to stencil. You probably know how to stencil, but I'm just working on a craft sheet. And you can be as chunky or as flat with this particular technique as you like. With a paste or a medium that's this thick, usually once you get some of it down, you don't really have to hold on to it very tight because the paste just holds it in place. I am going to pull that. I have a little bucket over here, a little tin that I keep water in, and I put the palette knife and the stencil just right in the water so that it doesn't dry on there, and I can just keep going. I have quite a few colors to choose from. This many, I think it's quite a few. But again, these are embossing powders that are clear. So they dry with a color finish, but also you can see what's behind them. And that's why I started out with something that had color on it already, because I want to be able to pick up the color that's below as well. So I'm going to use a couple of colors of embossing glaze. This is Vintage Photo. This is well, let's do Vintage Photo. I usually don't use a lot of brown, but this had some brown in it, so use that and some speckled egg. So if if you have a stencil that is more of an illustration, like of a bird or of a face, or you can be really more mindful about your placement of the embossing glaze. You can pick it up and pinch it and put it in little places, and then, you know, and then put other colors as you go to kind of make an illustration, like paint an illustration with the embossing glaze. But I don't have that. I have dots. So I am just going to put some on here. I did take out a piece of paper that's folded in half, so it will help me move the paste back into the jar as soon as this part is done. So with this process, you kind of have to work pretty quickly because you want all of your embossing glaze to be on the tag before the medium dries. So there's the bottom half. And the top half. This looks like cinnamon. Don't eat it. Oops. Just fling it across the room if you want to. So you can see I have the brown on the top. I have the speckled egg on the bottom. I am going to set this aside. And so essentially this process, part of this process is that when you're using a crackle paste specifically, you want the paste to crackle. And in order to do that, you want it to dry naturally. You don't want to dry it with a heat tool. So you're going to set this aside, let it dry, and, you know, however long that takes based on your, I don't know, your humidity and your life choices and how much coffee you drink in a day. And when you grab it, you should see the crackle. You don't want to rub it. Once it's dry, it will have caught on to the embossing glaze, but it won't but it won't be melted yet, so it will come off until you heat set it. And that's what I'm going to show you now. So this one I'm going to set aside so we won't actually see this one happen. I don't think I'll be able to get to it. And then I have two other, I'm sorry. I'm going to slow down, take a breath. I have two tags that I already did. And the reason I did two with this same medium, the Crackle Paste Translucent, is because I did one on top of ink and, one on top of ink and one on top of paint. I don't think it's going to make a big difference, except that the paint can be a lot darker if you want it to be, just because of the opacity. So I did two with the texture paste. They were done a couple of days ago, so they've completely dried. And then I did two with texture paste opaque matte. So this, of course, is going to be a different result because you don't see through the paste, but you can still see through the embossing glaze. So it'll just look a little different. You can see that the jar that I used was so old that it started drying almost immediately, so I didn't get a lot of the pieces here. But I thought since we're doing two of this, we could do two of these, one on the ink and one on paint as well. So these, again, were were pasted and dried a few days ago and have just been sitting around waiting for their chance to shine. So I'm going to move these out of the way and we'll do them one at a time. All right, so I'm going to start with this one. This is the Crackle Paste Translucent over ink. Gonna grab your favorite beverage. Today I have Diet Dr. Pepper. I'll probably edit out that whole noise of me drinking. I just noticed that my palette knife is not all the way under the water, so sorry about that. Okay, let's go. So I'm just using the Ranger Heat tool. It doesn't blow out hot air like a regular embossing tool does. For this, with the texture paste, you'll see the embossing glaze start to do its thing just like any other embossing powder. So once you notice that, and once it is all dried, then you're done. Or not dried, melted. I'm not sure that you can even hear me. I'm starting to see them turn. Look at all of it. Also hoping not to get too much shadow on, but the heat tool's also in the way. So we just do our best. But so I used 3 different shades of embossing glaze on this tag. Let me turn it around. I think the blue is, I'll look at what the actual colors are, but I think the blue is sapphire, chipped sapphire. I've got peacock feather, and then this one I believe is wilted violet? All right, I don't know why that last bit felt like it took forever, but you can see, oops, sorry. You can see the crackle and you can see the 3 different colors. And this is also, of course, really fun when you have an illustration, something illustrated that comes to life after you heat it and melt the glaze. So there's that one. That's the Crackle Paste Translucent. This one is on ink. This one is just on paint. All right, here's that one. And of course you can use this as the background to a card. You could use it as a journaling card. You can die cut with it. And again, here is the ink. And this looks like it might have a little oxide on there too. And this is the method where you use the texture paste and you let the texture paste with the glaze on it naturally dry, and then you heat it to melt the glaze. I hope that all made sense. And also, I know I went over it like 6 times, but there's that. It's pretty cool. And you can still see the color beyond the glaze. So these next two, I did a little differently. I did with texture paste opaque. I stenciled them like you normally would, and I also put embossing glaze on it while the paste was still wet. And this one is the one on the ink, and I'll go ahead and hit this one. So these aren't going to become translucent. The glaze will be translucent, but the stars are already opaque. You can see I had a big blob of the glaze there, so that thing is extra, that particular star. But it's fun. It's raised up. They're different colors. And I think this was candied apple, and this is picked raspberry. And then this one is the same texture paste and the same colors, but this is on paint. Okay, let's work our way backwards. This last one was created using vintage photo and aged mahogany. Focus. This is the one where we used the translucent crackle paste, but I didn't actually let it dry naturally. It was still wet with the embossing glaze on it when I heated it, and I think there's something about heating the texture paste and the embossing glaze at the same time to dry them that makes it react every once in a while. So some of them bubble, and this one, I don't know, it just melted. I mean, we were trying to melt it, but, and so you can try heat on the different mediums to see how they react. I would definitely be careful and read all the labels, and we are melting plastic though, so I don't even know if we should be doing this. But this is really cool. I like the way this one turned out. And you can see, let's see. Oh no, you know what? This was vintage photo and speckled egg. This green down here is actually blue. Doop, boop. Picky. Jeez. Speckled egg. I don't know. I said it. I don't know why you had to see it. But, so that's this one. This one is interesting because it has the oxide and some salvage patina on the bottom, so it looks really crusty and rusty and whatever. So there's that one. This one that really didn't have to do with the translucency of the glaze at all turned out interesting. I like the way that the dots that I had inked previously kind of are misaligned with the stars and out of whack. This one is more grungy than I usually do. These two were created using candied apple and picked raspberry. I don't know what colors are on the tags to begin with though, so there's that. And now the two that we're here actually to talk about, you can see that you get, of course, the more surface area that you have with the texture paste on it, or the crackle paste, the more crackle you can get. So, but there's that one, and this one. So let me know if you've ever used embossing glazes before, or if you just use a regular translucent, clear, uncolored, translucent embossing powder. So these ones were made with Wilted Violet, Broken China, and Salty Ocean. I think I got none of those colors right when I was talking about them earlier. But thanks for joining me for this one, and I'll see you in the next one.